it's often misattributed to Churchill, to jaw is better than to war.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case here. The fact that they got together, and I think these are certainly the highest level talks since Trump met Putin in Trump's first administration. I don't know how many years ago that was. So what it essentially, I mean, this was not necessarily about Ukraine. This was about restoring relations between two of the largest powers in the world, sitting down and having talks. It was held at the highest level. The Foreign Minister Lavrov sat down with the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, also the National Security Advisor Waltz, and the equivalent essentially on the Russian side, sat down for 4 hours to discuss the state of Russia-U.S. relations predominantly. Now, Ukraine obviously was a part of it because Ukraine is in between the relations. But as we have been talking over the last almost 3 years now, there have been points where the U.S. and Russia were literally a hair's breadth from a nuclear conflict. And all that time, all of those incidents, the firing of rockets deep into Russian territory, American rockets with American intelligence and American targeting, all of these things, and all of this getting close to the war, and Biden wouldn't sit down, wouldn't talk to him, wouldn't even utter his name without saying thug or any of these other things. So simply the fact, regardless of everything else, Dr. Paul, simply the fact that the two of these sides have opened negotiations cools down the possibility of a world-ending nuclear war. Whatever else comes out of this, that's a positive development.
Well, in a way, I think this is a victory for those of us who aren't impressed, nor do we like to expose and expand the power of international organizations like NATO.
Yeah.
The Europeans said, the Americans will come to our rescue, they're doing well, and we can make these demands. So they participate in NATO, and they depend on NATO, and all of a sudden, NATO hasn't rescued them, and it may be just the fact that they went along and thought that NATO was going to do that. That's going to lead to, the disintegration of the current government of Ukraine. I think that's what's coming.
Yeah.
So,
it's
we'll see.
Close to the end. And it's the whole difference between continuing to do the same thing and expecting different results. That's the Biden approach. And that's the European approach, the EU approach, and looking for something different. Why are we not talking? Now, we're not saying this is perfect or that Trump is perfect or that this is a perfect policy or that Russia may get a good deal out of this. They may have to walk away from the table. Nevertheless, sitting down, doing something different is better than doing the same thing. So the Europeans were furious. They weren't invited. And they think they have a right to sit at the same table as we do and pound their fists on the table. Well, the reason they weren't invited is because they want to continue the war, and these are peace talks. Very, very simple.